Unfiltered, the official Sunderland AFC podcast.
Welcome to another edition of SAFC Unfiltered. Myself and Danny are back up here at the Academy of Light this afternoon for a chat with KRISTJAAN SPEAKMAN. A lovely day up here as well, Danny.
Yeah, beautiful. It's good to be back. A good start to the season. Positive vibe around the place at the minute, and be interesting to see what KRISTJAAN's got to say.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit to catch up on. Although this is his fourth appearance on the podcast, we've had a very busy transfer window, a transfer window which many fans had to be patient, didn't they, really? And we got there in the end, and some very exciting players coming into the club.
Yeah, that's right. I think, going into the start of the season, we let 9-10 lads go at the end of last year, a lot of experienced lads, and then we were patient, weren't we? We were seeing it going into that first game against Wigan. Only 3 faces into the building, no fullbacks going into that game. But since then, you say they've had to be patient, working hard behind the scenes, and they've managed to get the numbers into the building now. And as I said there's been some impressive performances. Callum Doyle, for example, standing out at the back. And these other lads have had to be patient to wait for some game time. But that's good signs, because the other lads who are in the starting 11 at the minute are doing a good job.
OK, then let's head inside here at the Academy Light to speak to KRISTJAAN SPEAKMAN. Welcome back to SAFC Unfiltered. KRISTJAAN SPEAKMAN. How are you doing, KRISTJAAN?
Really good, thanks guys, really good.
Did you have any time off over the summer, time with the family, or has it been pretty much in here every day at the Academy?
0 time off over the summer, however I did escape on the 1st of September for a couple of days with the family before school started. I owed some family time, it's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. OK then, before we look at the here and now and what the plans are, let's start by looking back at last season. Obviously we didn't gain promotion, but there was a trophy win and there was plenty of positives to be taken from last season.
Yeah, I think ultimately everyone's going to be disappointed with the outcome, because our number one goal is to obviously get this club promoted to the EFL Championship, and everyone was really delighted with the Papa John's trophy. I think getting Sunderland back to sort of winning ways and getting a trophy and everything that means to the people of the city and the football club is really, really important. But I think everyone's under no illusion that our objective is to get promoted, and ultimately if you don't reach your objective, you're going to be disappointed. You have to dust yourself down, get back on with your planning, and obviously try to achieve it this season. Lots
of big changes within the club. You came in last season, and Lee Johnson, new owner as well. There's been lots of changes up here at the Academy in terms of how it physically looks. Just tell us a little bit about why that's taken place and the benefits of that.
Well, I think first and foremost, we're blessed with an outstanding stadium and an infrastructure and training facility. And I think the fact that this building was built over nearly 20 years, 18, 19 years ago, it's still virtually fit for purpose and right at the high level. But what we needed to do, the way that we're working, the way that we've got all the different domains of expertise, was to get those guys working together in the same spaces. And we had to just rejig the internal workings of the building for the staff, first and foremost. Hopefully just trying to shape that culture and that working practice of how people go about their business is really important. I think there's another important factor, which is visually it's impacting, like you just mentioned it yourself, coming in today. Shows, I think, a new direction, shows the impetus and the investment that's coming from the ownership group to ensure that we're moving the club forward. And I think for every single member of staff, it's a direct indication of what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go.
Yeah, you can really smell it, can't you, Danny, when you first come in the building?
You come in, and as you say, I've been here years ago now, 10, 15 years ago, and it's had a complete makeover, nice and fresh. And it's an impressive building to come into, certainly for the new signings. As you say, the stadium itself speaks for itself, the training facilities, and then the building inside now just tops that off.
Yeah, and in terms of departments within the academy here, is that much better now in terms of the layout? So certain departments are in certain areas, but also connected to people like yourself.
We're in essence housing all the expertise in one of the domains together. So if you take Stuart Harvey's obviously came in, it would be a point of topic I'm sure for today's discussion in recruitment. There wasn't actually an office for Stuart to have and for his staff to have, and obviously we're looking to build a team out, so where do you house those members of staff? And the same with analysis and data, they were spread out all over the place. And I think it's, you've got expertise within a domain, and you obviously got some sort of like craft knowledge in there, and you want to be able to pass that craft knowledge on and share it, and And you can only do that by spending that sort of informal time together. And if you sat at opposite ends of a building, you very rarely cross paths because of the nature of necessarily your operational job, i.e. to work with a team. It's all that informal information sharing, which is really key for us, that our 16s analyst or 14s analyst can see what our first team analyst is doing, and they can share common practice. And common practice both ways, like we want curiosity and we want to develop and we want to be innovative. It might be the analysis member of staff working with under 12s that comes up with the idea that all of a sudden the first team adopt.
Good, isn't it? To have that whole feeding into one goal, I guess, which is probably never happened really. It's something that would be fair to say.
Look, it'd be really difficult for me to say what happened before December the 5th last year when I got here. I mean, obviously you speak to the staff and you try to find out often what they felt was positive and what they felt wasn't positive. And I think one of the things which was overwhelming was the fact that people felt it was a fragmented approach. And we've just felt that was really, really core to our objective, was to try to tick that one off, if you like, to make sure that people are working harmoniously and being efficient with what they're doing.
Okay then, let's get into it then. I think it's fair to say that some Sunderland fans were a little bit worried about the transfer window as time ticked over, but there was a plan all the time, wasn't there, in the background, Christian? And here we are at the other end of the window. How have you assessed it then?
Well, I think we're in a really good place at the minute, and that's obviously natural because the players that we wanted to acquire, we've acquired. The team's where we want it to be at the top end of the table, and ultimately the style of the team, the philosophy is quite evident. I think for everyone who's come into the stadium, it's worth mentioning we've got over 22,500 season ticket holders, which is mind blowing. Incredible endorsement, I think, for everything that's going on at the club, and hopefully we can reward the fans that are coming with that more exciting style and progressive style of football. So at the minute, everyone's really, really pleased where they're at. I think the important thing is you don't get complacent, and we're working really, really hard behind the scenes on that sort of next phase in all those areas.
Yeah, Danny, the fans would often come up to ourselves, probably you on social media as well, and saying, we need some players through the door. Yeah. And there was a period of time where teams in and around us in League One were bringing in players, and you were, taking the company line and saying, just be patient, weren't you?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, as you say, there people are saying, what's happening? Are we signing anybody? And I think that comes, as you say, you're looking at Wigan, Ipswich, MK Dons. It seems to be day after day there was a new player coming through the door there. Now, obviously, we let 9-10 lads go in the summer, some experienced lads, and then you see 2 or 3 come in. Pritchard comes in, Corey Evans comes in, and Doyle comes in, and we're going into that first game of the season then against Wigan. So you can see why the fans were a little bit concerned, shall we say. But obviously Christian will tell us everything was under control and where we're situated at this moment in time. And one of the things I'm looking at there, and I was looking at last night as well, is in terms of the squad and the lads you released last season, the average age was up nearly 28, the second highest in terms of the age. And then this year now we're 7th lowest, 24, nearly 25. And was that a big part of the recruitment as well in terms of that age? I know you've spoke before about the importance of trying to get the lads through from the academy, Jack Diamonds, Hawks, these lads, trying to get them into the first team, Dan Neil as well. Was that a big factor in recruitment?
Yeah, I mean, look, the planning for the window started last January, and I think when we acquired Ross Stewart, we knew that where Charlie was at the time, that Ross was going to have limited opportunity, but we felt that, first of all, maybe in the summer you wouldn't be able to get a Ross Stewart for the type of transaction that we got him for in January. And therefore you're already planning for that next phase and trying to reduce the amount of work you're doing in the summer. So I think you've got to be really diligent with your planning from a lot further out than just waiting until you get to the window opening in early July. I understand fans' concern at the start of the window because naturally everybody looks around at what's going on, and the norm is people are signing players. We had a really, really clear idea about who we wanted to go for, and we wanted to go for a smaller, streamlined squad of quality over quantity. And therefore, when you do that, you've got to be really, really precise with those signings because you've got less room for error, naturally. Yeah. We did let a group of players go, which was potentially risky, but we felt to change the philosophy and change the dynamic of the squad and that average age, then that would have to be something we'd done. The average age this year in the league is 24.8. I think last year it was just over 28, maybe 28 and a half, 28.9.
I've got 27.6 here, so getting up to 28, isn't it?
But we had some games where I think we were just short of 29.
Right. Yeah.
So if you look at that, it's a huge difference in terms of what the squad's dynamic looks like. And you'd always like a Disney type, storyline where you sign exactly who you want to sign in whatever order. But that's just unfortunately not reality. And I think what the football club needs is it needs calm, concise leadership from the top. And that's got to be completely aligned with the strategy of what we're trying to achieve. And you can't get, it has to be an unwavering sort of support of that strategy, because naturally we rely on fans to attend games. We rely on fans to support the football club. And we want the fans to buy into obviously what we're doing. And naturally, when you go against what's happened previously, I think that's going to cause a little bit of concern and alarm. My wife kindly passed on some of that concern and alarm, because I'm not an avid social media user, but she does like to sound me out when she thinks things are getting a little bit ferocious out there. So I understand that, but I think the thing which would be a negative would be to suddenly panic and then start making some decisions that don't help either in the short or long term. Yeah. And I think that every single player that we've acquired on the terms that we've acquired them on fits perfectly with the strategy of what we're trying to do.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, so looking at the order that the lads came in, you almost secured your experienced lads early on. Let's say Pritchard there and Corey Evans coming in, and then obviously the signings that have followed. Callum Doyle, 17-year-old. A lot of fans perhaps haven't heard of him, but early signs are what a player he's going to be. And then there's other younger lads coming in as well, coming in from Premier League teams who perhaps haven't got experience, certainly at this level anyway. Where does your recruitment and information on these lads come in from then, the data and the stats? Is it watching the 21s games, 23s games and seeing how they're doing?
Yeah, we're right at the sort of embryonic phase of our sort of recruitment. I think myself joining in December, Stuart Harvey joining March, I think, time. Didn't leave ourselves a load of time to be able to map out exactly what we wanted to do and how we're going to do it. And, you talk about like player recruitment, if you go back another stage, potentially one of the best things we did was recruiting the right individuals to lead these domains, and people like Stuart Harvey and James Young, who have contributed massively to where we're sat today. Because without those people, you can't then run the processes to be able to find the players and then obviously get those negotiations over the line. So, there's got to be a lot of praise for the staff that have worked really, really collaboratively with Lee and the coaching staff, because we've been short on the ground on members of staff and infrastructure to a certain degree, which we're obviously trying to build out, and therefore everybody coming together in a small team has really, really maximised, what we could do in that period of time. But it wasn't necessarily a case of acquiring certain individuals in certain age brackets. It was having our depth charts in each of the positions that we wanted, and then trying to work for your number one target in those areas. And then if you didn't get your number one target, go to your number two target and have all that information there. The great thing I think for us is that we didn't have to come away from what we felt was our best selection at any point. And that's why I'm quite confident that we got the players that we wanted to get. And some of those took longer than we'd like. But if you're trying to go for quality, those conversations can take a long time. And even for the guys who came in early in terms of, with Corey or people like Pritch, it wasn't like those conversations were done in 2 days. Those conversations were going on a long time. They were players that were, had opportunities to play at a higher level than this league, but they wanted to come and be part of the project.
With some of the other lads then as well, was it a case of, because they come from Premier League teams, a waiting game really, because the Premier League sides are waiting for their first team lads to come back in from obviously playing the Euros or coming back from holiday, and they're almost filling in at times, playing in pre-season games I think, and then it gets bumped down the line further down, perhaps a little bit too close to the start of the season for your liking, but you have to wait if that's the type of player you're looking for.
Yeah, you do, and you have to be respectful as well. We're playing in the third tier at the minute, and therefore you're often waiting for your nearest neighbours, the Championship, to start moving players around, and then that obviously creates a little bit of a cyclic motion where you can then obviously start to acquire and move players. That hasn't really happened this winter for, I think, well-known economic reasons. And then you've got the second issue. Nathan Broadhead's a great example. Nathan's on the bench for Everton on Saturday and he signs for us on Monday. Now that deal was already agreed, but you're then obviously waiting on the okay, because quite rightly Everton are not going to cause themselves a problem to help Sunderland necessarily, although they are obviously helping Sunderland because they've agreed to loan out a real prospect in our opinion.
So just to give the listeners a little bit of an insight, Christian, if you wouldn't mind, on a daily basis during the summer, during the transfer window, are you, Lee Johnson, Stuart Harvey, James as well, and perhaps the owner sitting around a table, or are you constantly on conference call? What's a usual day in the transfer window look like for someone like yourself?
7 a.m. till 2 a.m. in the morning, probably almost every day. I think it's can't be underestimated the time and energy put into that period, and it is you sit back. Last week I'm having a break for 3 or 4 days with the family, and you sit back reflecting, and it's not a normal way of living. But you're under some real time constraints, and obviously as the closer you get to that 31st of August, obviously the pressure can start to ramp up a little bit. You've already spoken about sort of external pressures that can occur, but it all depends different days depending on where you are within a acquisition of a player. Obviously there's a lot of video watched. It's been obviously a big difference in the last 2 transfer windows because you haven't had that live observation to be able to go to, which I don't think necessarily helps. So you're relying on your contacts, you're relying on your conversations, the due diligence of having the interviews with the players prior to signing them with the key members of staff here to try to ensure that we make the right acquisitions. But lots and lots of meetings, lots and lots of cross-examination of what's the best combination of players as well within a unit. Have we got the right blend of age across those units? To make sure that we're capable of winning almost every game, if you like, is our ambition throughout the season. And therefore you've got to put a lot of time and energy into the preparation, in the discussion, the cross-analysis of it, watching the videos, speaking to people, and then obviously you've got the final piece of the jigsaw, which is negotiating with the player's representative and or the club that you're trying to get that player from, and that can take weeks. I think we've got the 2 German boys at the end. That was going on for 3 or 4 weeks, but it takes time when you're trying to acquire a player, highly talented players as well, by the way, from big clubs in other countries on complex deals where you've got the opportunity to have the player and the opportunity to keep the player in the future, which is really, really important for us. We don't want to just take loan players for the sake of having loan players. We want to try to ensure that when we've got loan players, we have the opportunity to make that permanent.
I bet there's a lot of frustration as well, where you perhaps think you're getting close to getting a deal done, and then last minute, I'm sure it's the same at every club as well, where the player might decide geographically it's not quite for him or something else. And do you then have a list? I know you've mentioned before to us that you've perhaps got a list drawn up in your office, and you have to work your way down that list. You perhaps don't get your first or your second targets, and then you're having to try and scramble almost to try and get into the third one.
I mean, most of the time, like I said, we've been really fortunate. It hasn't been a case of we haven't got who we didn't think was our number one. Most of the time it was making sure that it was the right fit with every other player that we get, because I think once you make an acquisition in one spot, it has a knock-on effect.
Right.
It might then shuffle the next list a little bit, but that might be because it's a certain type of player that we've acquired, and therefore that will have an effect on what you're going to do next. And obviously you've also got the budget thing.
The budget
we're operating within a budget. We're trying to. Our ambition is to be a sustainable football club, so we are making sure that whilst the owners have put an incredible investment into, like we just said, the infrastructure at the training ground, also in terms of the transfers that we've made in the acquisitions, that's been a huge investment as well. It's sometimes not able to go like every single player we've spent this or done this, but incredible backing from the owners to be able to get the types of players, because you want to try and attract young players that are up and coming. They're the hardest players to attract.
Yeah. And as well, I know Frankie just asked the question a minute ago, and I know Kirill's obviously been down the training ground. We've seen him when we've been down doing the podcast. He's obviously at every game. Does he have any input into perhaps the type of player you're looking to sign, or the style of player? I know I've been at previous clubs, without naming names, where I know chairmen have come in and they like to perhaps interfere with the recruitment and stuff, or as Kirill just took a back seat and let the manager, Stuart Harvey, just get on with things and recruit?
Kirill's somehow managed at such a young age to be able to get the balance between letting the people that he's recruited get on with the job and being a really good support and an analytical view on what we've been doing. It's been an absolute pleasure for me to work with, and I think the other guys would say exactly the same. And like I said, the support that we've had from him and the ownership group has been really, really impressive. It's that he has the most influence because he's the person who's agreeing and sanctioning the strategy, and therefore if you're clear with what the strategy is and how you're going to go about being successful, then you shouldn't really need, if you've made the right people choices, you shouldn't need too much involvement. So I don't think it's been loads of work from the strategy, but I think we've kept in constant communication with him and the other members of the ownership team and the executive team. Steve Davison's been a huge help to us. in both the transfer window specifics, but also keeping the club ticking over while we've all had our head in the sand dealing with transfers and some other things get put on pause, to make sure that we're working really, really collectively and collaboratively. And I think it's just been such a good collaborative effort. Nobody's got the full range of skills. And I think that one of the greatest things is I have the opportunity to speak to Kirill on a daily basis, either in person or on the phone, and sometimes just chat through stuff and have a sounding board and making sure we're making the right choices. So from that perspective, I don't think we could have wished for a better support mechanism around the processes.
I was going to obviously touch on, so the window came and went, closed. Were you happy overall? I know you see on fan sites and it's big discussions on the rate, the transfer window out of 10. I've seen people doing it and stuff. I know we're not going to ask yourself to do that, but you're obviously pretty satisfied, and I think the table at this moment in time suggests that we've recruited well and we're going well. But would you have liked to have added any, without going into too much detail in terms of position, would you have liked to have still brought maybe one or two more in?
No, not necessarily. No, I think, like I said, we were looking to streamline the squad and we're looking for quality over quantity. And we want a group of players that all have got the ability to be able to get in the team and play. And I think we've got a nice balance and a nice mix. Naturally, as the games progress and you win, lose, draw those games, everybody will be in a position to cast a judgment on how good the transfer window's been, how good the squad's playing. That's our responsibility to ensure that the team does well and the squad's capable, and we're already embarking on, okay, what does January look like for us? That process has already started this week. So at the minute, everyone's really comfortable. Doesn't mean we'll all be comfortable when we come to December, and certain things will happen. You'll have injuries, suspensions. These are the natural things that happen within our industry, and we'll do everything we can to be prepared for next time. But we'll do it in a calm and patient manner to try to make sure we do the best for the football club.
And I think it helped as well, obviously, looking at going into the start of the season, and a lot of the fans were like looking at the starting 11. You've got Dan Neil at left back, you've got Carl Winchester right back, your two centre midfielders, and they're all like, what's going on here? We haven't got any full backs in. And I think the fact that when both have played there, Winchester's been outstanding at right back. He seems to be enjoying it, watching his performances, and obviously Dan Neil when he's played there, but he's stepped up in midfield as well, hasn't he? That's obviously perhaps taken a little bit of pressure off as well in them early games. If you did, for instance, we play at Wigan, they don't have great games. And what's happening? Where's the recruitment? That sort of comes back, but the fact that them two went straight in there and slotted in well, perhaps took a bit of pressure off.
I mean, we wouldn't have done that if we didn't feel confident that those guys could do the job for us in those positions. This is not a toy you can play around with. This is serious business, and you can't give away any of those points. And naturally, when it's those types of scenarios, then it's going to draw scepticism that people go, well, why are you doing that? We were all pretty calm and confident. And even if we'd have lost the games, you can't pin losing the games on two guys who are playing out of position doing the best. And naturally, that would fall back on people like myself, and we're accountable for making sure we make the right decisions. So really, really comfortable with that. I mean, one of our key parts of our strategy is making sure these young players come through from the academy programme, and Lee did everything he could last year to get Dan Neil as many minutes as we felt we could in that promotion challenging season. Loads of love, care and support off the pitch. Seeing him flourish this year. He's been really, really good in the games. I think he's played almost every game, if not every game. I think he is, yeah. Bless him, at different positions. Great kid, future of Sunderland. Couldn't speak more highly about him as an individual. And ultimately for us, we want to give those young players a platform. And Embo's come back from Blackpool.
Yeah, it's like a fresh shine.
And again,
as well, isn't it?
That was all part of the plan for him to obviously go there and get those minutes and hopefully come back in a better position. I think that's showing in his game.
Yeah. Is that some of the thought process in letting Jack Diamond out on loan this season then?
Yeah, 100%. We signed Jack to a new long-term contract last year, and can we get Jack those opportunities that he needs at his time? You've got to treat every single player on where they're at and what they need as an individual. And someone young like Ellis Taylor can afford to be around the group and exposed to that and playing in the 23s. But Ellis is at a different point in his career to Jack, and that's not going to suit Jack. So we have to take the plunge. And of course, it'd be easier just to keep Jack, and 3 injuries occur somewhere, touch wood, that doesn't happen, and Jack's there, everyone will go, oh, it's great, you've got Jack. And if we don't have Jack, people will say we should have kept Jack. But we've got to look past that micro issue, if you like, and look beyond it and say, well, what's the best for Jack and Sunderland? The best thing for Jack will be go and play all those games up until Christmas, and we can review where he's at.
Yeah, I think if you can get, as you say, for Jack, he'd benefit only from going out playing week in, week out, rather than maybe coming off the bench or getting a run out in the Papa John's or the League Cup, and then, you know, if he can come back after 30 plus games. Same for Josh Hawkes, I guess, as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know better than anyone as a player, you know, to appear for 20 minutes here or there and then be you've got to be 10 out of 10, incredibly hard thing to do. Incredibly hard thing to do, to come off the bench and do that as a young player. So Jack's ambitious and he wants to play for Sunderland, but he also understands at the minute this is the best route for him to get to that objective.
And one we'll touch on as well is obviously on deadline day. I think Aidan O'Brien, there was rumours going that maybe he was looking to try and get away. You know, he had a great week, didn't he, scoring the hat-trick.
Yeah, I mean,
alone, was he happy to say? Did he speak to Lee Johnson? Was he frustrated with game time? Because I think he's had 3 appearances off the bench.
I don't think Aidan was desperate to get away.
Right.
You know, Aidan's someone who's played a lot of minutes for us since I've been here, since Lee's been the head coach, and he's a valuable member of the group. I think, in fairness to Aidan's not someone who wants to sit around and not playing at the minute. He's not had as many minutes as what he'd want to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's on him to work his way into the team, but it's also on us to manage those individuals. And Aidan was presented with an opportunity for a loan which he wanted to take, that we just felt was the best move at the time. And then unfortunately we couldn't get that through administration-wise, you know, by the deadline. But unfortunately, when these things happen in the final hours and minutes of a transfer window and you've got 6 different things occurring, unfortunately that's when risk factor gets increased, doesn't it? And then therefore things happen whereby, you know, the deal doesn't get done.
I suppose as well, obviously Will Grigg went, didn't he, pretty late on. You know, if you let Aidan O'Brien go as well, that's in the attacking third, that's 2 players, you know, you've got Broadhead there, so you've got to look after yourself as well, haven't you?
And Aidan's a player that can achieve a lot of minutes in the team, you know, and like I said, he's, you know, the week before he scored a hat-trick in the game and showed everything that he can do. So we're really, really fortunate we've got someone like Aidan in the squad.
Yeah. But it's hard as well, isn't it, for lads to come knocking on the manager's door. You know, you've got the young lads who have come in perhaps from Premier League clubs thinking, well, I'm dropping to League One, I should be able to go straight into that team. But after the start we've had, you know, I've been there myself, and the lads who get frustrated when they aren't getting game time, you can't really go knocking on the manager's door because he'll just say, well, just have a look at the league table. You know, we're doing well, I can't change it type of thing. You've got to bide your time and wait and just training.
Ultimately that's what you want, don't you? You want you want a small, concise, competitive group of players that have all got the same objective. I think what you've got with a younger group, and it's not to say that the older group are no more ambitious, you know, I think 2 of our best signings was Luke O'Nien and Aidan McGeady. People will say they're not signings, but they were free agents like everyone else. Opportunities to go elsewhere, and to get Luke and Aidan to re-sign straight away within the opening sort of month was a real indication of what we were trying to do. And I'm sure those 2 signings helped us get the other signings, because other people coming through the door would have looked at it and gone, oh, hang about. Geeds has re-signed, O'Nien's re-signed, this club's going places. Naturally we've ended up with a younger cohort, and therefore you've got a lot of up and coming, you know, I want to show people I can play in the Championship, I want to show people I can play in the Premier League. And that's what you want.
And that breeds, you know, success and confidence throughout the side, doesn't it? I mean, Tom Flanagan, for example, has had probably some of his best games for Sunderland this season so far.
Yeah, Tom's done really well. We've got 4 centre-backs. I mean, you've got a situation at the minute where you've got someone like Bailey Wright that's not got in the starting lineup in the league game so far. And Bailey's, you know, trained really, really well. You saw him in the Blackpool game when he got on, when he played in the Blackpool game, did really, really well. He's got to try and find his way back into the team. And when you get the opportunity, that's going to keep us at that. We hope that's going to keep us at that level where we can win those games that we need to win. And obviously, what we need to do is to win more games than we draw. And hopefully, that will give us the best platform to be able to get to that magic number of points that we think we need to get promotion.
The goalkeeper situation, obviously, with Big Hoffman coming in as well, as you mentioned there, last minute. You've got 3 keepers now. Is it the same for those guys? Just keep competing and then see who takes that number 1 spot, I guess. You know.
Yeah, definitely. And the signing was last minute. The process wasn't last minute. I mean, it took a lot of time to be able to get that over the line, and we're trying to be really diligent with obviously the type of deal and the structure of that deal. We just felt that it was an opportunity that we couldn't turn down. I think we've acquired ourselves a goalkeeper that's got the potential to play at the very, very highest level. You don't come from the type of club that he's played for in that league without being able to cope with the training demands and the game demands. And for us, obviously, we've got young Anthony who's come in and done well in the games. and we've got to have a group of goalkeepers the way we've got like a really, really high level. Burge obviously last year got in team of the year from his performances, so we're well stocked in that area.
Good competition.
But like I said, we want to make sure that we've got a hungry group, and we want to really, really, really like competitive, like who's going to be number one. So for us, it's a really, really great situation to be in.
Good. And just speaking about the academy squads, if you wouldn't mind for a second, are you happy with the development squads up here at the Academy of Light?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of work to do in terms of being able to sort of filter out that philosophy, and we've probably spent less time with those guys than what we'd like to. Again, when you've got the transfer window and you're taking every single day up with one topic and there's 100 topics to cover, naturally something gets left. You have to make some smart decisions with where you're spending your time. We're building out the staffing structure in those areas. We've got new staff arriving over the next month in some key positions, both in the coaching domain and in sort of physical development domain, which is really, really important for us. The groups have done really, really well last year. We'll probably see them be a little bit younger again this year, and therefore it'll be maybe a tougher programme for them. But we've got several international selections from our 14 through to our 18s group, which we're really, really pleased with. I think we've got some real good talent in there. We've got to be able to show and demonstrate them the plan through those age groups into the first team. And like I said, young Ellis is a good example of one that's just percolated into that group. And then you've got your Dans, your Embos, your Goochers.
Yeah. A good test as well. Taste of it, in pre-season as well. Ellis Taylor, didn't he? Done well in the games when he got a run out and that. You've obviously got Ollie Younger's gone back down there. Dice is in there. So these lads have had a run out in pre-season. Got to keep pushing themselves.
Yeah, they've got to keep pushing to try to get into the group, and that's one of the things we wanted by having a streamlined first team group. Is then we're relying on those young players to come in rather than maybe relying on a player who's a senior player who's maybe less motivated, been out the squad and maybe back in the squad. The next one that's coming in is going to be a young one. We've got to obviously work hard to make sure that calibre of those young ones is the very, very highest calibre. Some great opportunity for our young players, not just on game days, well, because obviously everyone looks at the games, but in the training, that's again where if you've got a swollen first team squad, it reduces the number of opportunities for young players to get around the group, understand the culture and the philosophy, understand what the coach wants from the team. It gives loads of exposure to young players to be around Lee and his staff and the training programme, which is really, really important.
It's coming in, as you say, on a Thursday, Friday, maybe doing the 11s, and it's when they get that opportunity to come in and to stand out and make an impression with the manager. Yeah,
I mean, it's every day. I mean, Monday, Tuesday, we've got training occurring all different times and part of our programme, individual group sessions, position-specific sessions. Those players have got an opportunity to come over and train with those guys. And we talk about that craft knowledge between staff. There's also the craft knowledge between the players. You start putting all those forwards together, and then you've got Will Harris around it. All of a sudden, picking something off Ross Stewart. That again is part of that learning journey. We want to try to make as many of those collisions, if you like, as possible, where those people are spending time with each other.
And last time out here on SAFC Unfiltered, we spoke to Mel Ray. She was very excited about the prospect of a new season for the SAFC ladies, and she felt there was a support network around her now with people like yourself working at the club, and they've had a successful start to the season as well.
You don't get any more successful, do you? Top table topping, 2 wins out of 2. Game at the Stadium at Light on Sunday. Really, really pleased for Mel and the team. Naturally, as that group and the infrastructure around it's grown really, really quickly, and it's still not in place. I mean, Alex Clark's joined us as general manager for the women's team. Alex only started work on Monday. So, to try to recruit the right people, that's a process that takes time. And they've got to serve notice periods and they've got to come in. So there's always a little bit of a lead time to things getting up and running. But I think we made some really smart early decisions to get the squad sorted early. Obviously, retaining Mel was a really, really important call in terms of making sure that we could do that and with all the rest of her commitments, because she's done really, really well. I think it's demonstrated in terms of where the group's at the minute. They're really, really well placed.
They're not full time as well, are they? Although when we spoke to Mel, they train 4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah, they've got a really, really robust training program, but they're not full time athletes.
No, but it's good commitments as well.
Incredible commitment, well. To be able to juggle all the things that they have to juggle, and obviously everyone's got an individual circumstance. To juggle all those things and train and then be ready to play in what is a really, really tough league. Like I said, we're really, really hopeful that's going to be the start of a really special team for us. And not just that as well, it's all the infrastructural things behind the scenes. Steve Davison's done an amazing job with all the sponsorship and marketing, because when you expand your sort of portfolio of teams and the level you're working at, there's huge expenditure in all those things, and again the ownership of back those decisions, and obviously then you're looking for the sponsorship and the community support to obviously help to get those things off the ground, and hopefully it's something for us that can go from strength to strength.
Good. Excellent stuff. Right, okay, you are notoriously bad at these quizzes, of which Danny
I genuinely thought he was joking when he texted me earlier saying it was a quiz.
Well,
I wouldn't have come.
Well, the pressure's on because Mel last time
Mel got 5 out of 5.
She got 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Can we delete that section we just put right now? I feel I need to. I didn't. If you'd have told me that, I would have downplayed Mel's successes to date.
Come on, then, Danny.
I've tried to help him out this time with the questions. I've tried.
I genuinely don't like quizzes.
He doesn't like quizzes. Well,
this is your 4th appearance on SAFC Unfiltered. You should be used to them by now. Or at least someone should have bought you a quiz book for Christmas.
Yeah, he's got to do some research at some stage, hasn't he? But right, okay, 5 questions. Mixed bag again. First question is, which country is located between Spain and France in the Pyrenees Mountains?
I think I know this one.
Andorra?
Andorra is correct.
Well done.
My skiing trip back in
I was just going to say
01's come to good, hasn't it there?
Doing
there
well.
we go. Improvement on his... you happy with that? Retiring on that?
1 from 1, let's knock on the head.
Okay, question number 2. Which player has made the most appearances for Sunderland? Is it Luke O'Nien, Tom Flanagan, or Aidan McGeady?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say like ever. I thought I had the answer then. So Luke O'Nien.
Yeah, over their career at Sunderland, yeah. So Luke O'Nien, Tom Flanagan, or Aidan McGeady, who's made the most appearances for the club. This is going off Wikipedia, by the way, so if it's...
You're critiquing my quiz answering and you're getting the answers from Wikipedia. Is it a trick question? I've got to go Geeds.
Aidan McGeady, 115 appearances.
Yeah.
Tom Flanagan, 73 appearances. Luke O'Nien, 110 appearances. Yes. Correct, Aidan McGeady.
Yes, Geeds.
Yeah. He had pretty much a year off as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, flying. Question number 3. Who was the last American to win the men's Wimbledon title? Tennis.
Sampras?
Pete Sampras is correct.
Well done.
Is it?
Do you know what year it was?
93.
2000.
2000? He's playing that late.
21 years since.
He did play for
Americans
quite
won
late, didn't he?
Mm.
That talk about athletes, those tennis players, those sets, back-to-back 5 sets, day after day, incredible.
Churning them out, Pistol Pete, wasn't he?
Yep.
Okay, 3 out of 3. Question number 4.
This is good, by the way. 3 out of 3. This is very good for you.
It's incredible.
We're on food here. Let's go back on food. But if an Indian dish has been cooked in a clay oven, how is it described on a menu?
Indian dish has been baked in a clay oven.
How is it described on the menu?
It's the name of what the clay
name of
oven's
the type
called,
of dish,
isn't
yeah.
it?
I like what you tried to do there, Frank. You tried to help me out, but I've still got no idea. So the only thing I can think about is I've got no idea, but the only one that comes to mind is a boona. So I'm thinking, is it a chicken boona, pork boona? Is a boona an oven?
That's obviously a type of dish. The answer is tandoori. That's the
Is it the
clay oven
dish?
tandoori style, yeah. So
Tandoor oven?
Yeah.
Come on.
Tandoor oven, yeah.
Oh, it is.
Do you like curry?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just never really. Probably should have.
Yeah.
Next
Go
one,
into a little more
tandoori.
detail.
Well, right, Six Food's done you again there, hasn't it, for a clean sweep. Last one, question number 5. Which sporting celebrity once resided at the infamous address of 360 North Rockingham Avenue, Los Angeles?
Is that a serious question? Say that
Do you
again.
want it again?
Yeah, say it again.
Which sporting celebrity once resided at the infamous address of 360 North Rockingham Avenue, Los Angeles?
Oh, I think I know this. O.J. Simpson.
Well done.
O.J. Simpson is correct. Yes. 4 out of 5. Got to be happy with that, yeah.
Can't believe I remembered that, 'cause I've seen a few of the documentaries.
Yeah.
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
I've nearly gone clean sweep
Clean
0,
sweep,
and then
yeah.
I nearly got
Yeah.
clean sweep 5.
Well done.
Food one's done you again, innit? But great effort.
Okay, just to end things then, Christian, what's the challenge for yourself now and the team as we're here today at the academy, what's next on the project list?
Well, on the project list, we've got a huge piece of work around the culture at the football club, which is something that myself, Kirill and Steve are really ambitious about trying to get into place. I think that's going to be a real game changer for us in terms of how that ripple effect affects the club moving forward and all the different things that we get involved in. So the culture piece is definitely important to us. If you're looking purely within the football department, trying to build out this fit for purpose structure, which we're still not quite there yet. I really wanted to be at a position where we'd done that by now, but that's been difficult to do in the timeline with everything.
Is that style of play through our age groups and stuff?
Yeah,
as well?
style of play would then be
Yes.
would then be there. I mean, at the minute we're doing loads of the data analytical work to be able to pick out how do we effectively evaluate that at the first team level and then all the way through, because what we're asking the coach to do a difficult thing. We're asking the coach to win every game, technically. We know it's not necessarily easy, but win every game and develop the team style.
Yeah.
We're winning more games than losing, but we're doing really well with the winning the games. But I think you've also seen a real change in the philosophy, which is really, really important. It's how we do that all the way throughout the age groups. That's certainly something which is on the agenda. Naturally, you will be into that cycle of what does January look like and how do we best prepare for January. And
is that still going on at this moment in time? I know you've got this period in between, really, but does that still go and you're still looking at possible incomings in January, or I'll just see how things develop over the next
few months? Yeah, I mean, you just want to be adaptable and diligent for every situation, don't you? I mean, I think the whole piece around the transfer, as we spoke about at the start, where fans get uneasy, is that what I would hope people would say is they're doing what they said they'd do. And it's difficult to develop trust. And I think the start of developing trust is being honest. Yeah. And I think what we've tried to do from all quarters is from the very outset, we've been honest around the predicament that we're in, where the club's at, how we think we can navigate away from it. Lots of people have been very reflective and honest on where we think we made mistakes. And we can sit here today and be really, really pleased where we're at. But ultimately, we also will have to reflect and say, well, hang about, actually, that transfer's not really worked out how I wanted it to. We have to reflect, why is that the case? I think everyone will accept you make an error if it's in the best faith. If it's done in good faith and it's done with the best of intentions. And ultimately, for myself, you've got to be responsible to make sure we don't make the same errors twice. I think that just starts to become negligent. And like I said, we're doing the job on behalf of the owners, custodians of the club for the fans and the people of Sunderland, and we want obviously the people of Sunderland to be delighted with their football club, and at the minute hopefully they are within the context of League One, but we want that to be in the context of the Championship and in the context of the Premier League. So there's a long way to go, and I go back to what I said at the start, is can't be complacent with where we're at. We can be pleased with where we're at and we can be buoyed and enthused by it, but we've got to maintain that real hard, diligent work ethic which has got us to this point. Got to keep repeating the good things.
Yeah, I think people obviously say as well, you don't look at the table for 10 games, but having gone into this international break, it is nice, isn't it, to sit there after, I know we're 5 games in, but to see where we're at, trying to sustain that now and try and get that balance and consistency. I think obviously going back to last season where we had that great run, then we just dropped off. Yeah. If we can just balance that out throughout
and
the course
mentally
of the
for
season.
everyone, not just the people around the club, but the fans as well. We've never been top of League One.
Yeah, you probably know that, don't you?
No,
since we've been in League One, not been top of the table.
Ever?
No.
At no point?
No.
I think maybe for like an hour on one afternoon.
I think at the end of a full game week on a Monday morning when you look at the table, so it's only 41 to go, isn't there? No pressure.
As long as we're top for the hour after May the 1st, whenever the season finishes, definitely. I mean, look, everyone's laser focused on that, and then around that we've got all those other things that we need to do well as a club around, administrative, corporate responsibility, young players coming through, staff, education programs, all those things we need to do. We've got a laser focus on that. And
will you see this year, I know the Cups, we had a good result against Blackpool, got another fixture to look forward to against Wigan coming up, but the likes of the Papa Johns, and I know we obviously won it last season, but would you see that as a bit of a hindrance this season, or do you think we've got the strength and the depth to take care of that?
Yeah, no, it won't be a hindrance. I think naturally having won it, you want to go and win it again, but I think we've also got to be sensible that we've got a smaller squad, and therefore what we also want to do is we're trying to plan appropriately to use those games, as I think they did at the start of last season, in fairness,
game time
but game time for some of the other players and integrate some of those players and get the right balance.
Yeah.
So what we will try to do is we'll use every competition that we're in appropriately for the needs of our strategy. And it won't be ad hoc in any stretch of imagination. It'll be completely aligned with what we said we were trying to do. And we have to use all those things at our disposal to either for fitness of players, health of players, opportunity for young players. One of the things that we're doing, which is a really good thing, is when we're doing the Papa John's Trophy games, we've got the 23s staff involved in those games. So you've got collaboration between staff as well. And everything that we do for players, we should be doing for staff, and everything we do for staff, we should be doing for players in many respects. So the principles about how we deal with people hopefully should be of the highest order.
Right, Chris.
Stuff,
Thanks for the update.
Yeah,
I'll see you soon.
Look forward to the top of the table clash at the weekend.
Big game.
So, Danny, we're back outside now here at the Academy of Light, and it was good to catch up with KRISTJAAN, who brought us right up to speed, didn't he, with all the transfers, ins and outs, and of course he told us about some of the processes as well involved.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed the chat with him. He was open again, as he has been on the podcast in the past with us, and just an interesting insight, I think, for the fans, especially to see what goes on at the club during that busy schedule, really, and once the season finishes, and then you're looking to build your squad going into the next season. And as he said there, it's been frustrating times for him and the recruitment staff, but they feel happy with what they've done so far this season and moving forward. Again, looking at January, but there's a lot of football to be played between now and then. Including
a top-of-the-table clash at the weekend as well for Sunderland.
Yeah, we mentioned that at the end of the podcast there, didn't we? It is. You're looking down there, and it's good to see us top of the table. You said to KRISTJAAN he wasn't aware we haven't been top of League One in the coming up 4 seasons we've been in this league now, which is astonishing, really, isn't it? You know, for a club like ourselves being down here, but that's how it's gone in the past. But we're there now. Yes, it's early days. We're 5 games into the season, but you want to be up there, and you're the team there to be shot down. But looking forward to the game at the weekend. Accrington going well themselves, but they're coming up to our patch as it is, and we've got to carry on this good form.
Yes, thanks, Danny, for your time this afternoon. We'll be back next time on another edition of SAFC Unfiltered.